In a previous video, we took a hot air balloon ride as a way to create distance from the voice in the head. And the moment we start watching our thoughts, the voice jumps in to justify itself. Here's the quiet trap. We assume the voice is telling the truth. But think about it. How often are we actually right? 100% of the time? Not likely. So if you're honest, you already know the voice isn't entirely reliable. It jumps to conclusions, it fills in gaps. It's basically your storyteller attempting to make sense of your world. We also discovered that the problem usually isn't your life situation itself. It's the meaning your mind attaches to it and then wholeheartedly believes to be true. Once you start noticing that, the next step seems obvious, right? Just stop believing every thought you think. But of course, that's easier said than done. And where do you even begin? That's where the work inspired by Byron Katie comes in. It's a simple but powerful way to question your thoughts. Not with force and not with resistance, but with curiosity. At its core, the work helps you examine your beliefs, especially the assumptions you carry about other people, about yourself, and about how life should be. Now, the work doesn't argue with your thoughts and beliefs. It doesn't shame them. It simply invites you to slow down and question them so that you can actually see what's true. Byron Katie offers 4 simple questions you can apply any stressful thought. Is it true? Can I absolutely know it's true? How do I react and feel when I believe this thought? And who would I be without this thought? The moment you look at a thought, you're no longer fully identified as the thought. This shift alone creates space. And the work does this by interpreting our habitual mental pattern, what neuroscience later called the default mode network, or DMN for short. These questions create just enough space between you and your thinking for you to override your DMN so that you can consider other possibilities. And when perspective changes, what once felt heavy, personal, and permanent often becomes lighter. That shift in perspective, my friend, is the real miracle. Because once that shift happens internally, change begins to happen externally. Let me share what this has looked like in my own life. I've been doing the work for several years now, mostly applying the questions to interpersonal situations. You know, those prickly encounters with friends, family, and coworkers that arise periodically. I even attended one of Byron Katie's workshops where I completed multiple worksheets on situations I was absolutely sure I was right about. Needless to say, I learned a whole lot about myself during that workshop. Over time, I've noticed I don't always need to even ask all 4 questions anymore. Often, all I have to do is ask the first question, is it true? And after swallowing hard and asking with real intention, the curiosity switch is flipped and my identification with perspective automatically weakens. I can suddenly see the situation and my role in it more objectively, not perfectly, but certainly more honestly. Most personal growth tools focus on changing behavior. You know, positive and negative reinforcement techniques. And don't get me wrong, these tools are certainly helpful in some situations. But do they address the root of the problem? Because when a belief is actually questioned and challenged, a change of behavior naturally follows. So imagine I've just had a minor disagreement with a friend. They said something that landed the wrong way. The moment I believe they intentionally caused me pain, I get triggered. I feel hurt, and I blame them for how I feel. Sound familiar? I tell myself a story about their intention that they meant to hurt me. This is where the work creates a powerful shift. Not by telling me I'm wrong, but inviting me to ask, is this absolutely true? And who would I be without this thought? When I pause there, certainty becomes, well, less certain. I may not actually know why they said what they said, and that's the point. What if not knowing is actually safer and better for the relationship than being certain? Since I can't change another person anyway, these questions bring my attention back to myself, to the only place where real change is possible. Now, let's talk about certainty for a moment. We crave certainty because we think it keeps us safe. If I'm certain I'm right, I know who's wrong. But unexamined certainty is what keeps us stuck because it closes the door to curiosity. And without curiosity, there's no room for a new perspective. The work gently loosens certainty, not into chaos, but into flexibility and responsiveness. And when the mind sees the cost of being right, the tension and the strain on our relationships, letting go is the only obvious pathway to peace. If you're new to the work, the best place to begin is the Judge Your Neighbor worksheet, available on Byron Katie's website. I'll put the link in the description below. Let's end with an invitation to this life-changing process of self-inquiry from Byron Katie herself. I discovered that when I believed my thoughts, I suffered, but when I didn't believe them, I didn't suffer, and that this is true for every human being. Freedom is as simple as that. I found that suffering is optional. I found joy within me that has never disappeared, not for a single moment. That joy is in everyone always, and I invite you not to believe me. I invite you to test it for yourself. See you on the next video.